Hey, this is Zoe Williams of the Voice of Reason and Zoe What Morning shows here at Dash Radio. Listen, everybody on YouTube, you guys have been a tremendous support for my shows, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in every week and, participating. But I'm serious than a mug. We need your help on the GoFundMe campaign. We really want to do the VOR radio network, and I'm asking you personally, each and every one of you, we're over nearly 24,000 strong here on the channel. We need you to support by donating. Just click that little button down there and it'll take you directly to the GoFundMe campaign. It's gofundme.com/Zoe Williams. Anything you can do is greatly appreciated. It continues our movement. It continues our forward progress. And I appreciate you all who have already donated. If you can do it again, I thank you so much. Thanks again. Zoe What? I'm out.
I'm Zoe Williams, the voice of reason. If your relationship is in trouble, I'm the dude to call. Has your soulmate become your cellmate? Does black love still exist? What are your bedroom turnoffs? Fantasies and fetishes. Financial infidelity. I'm dating a fat person. Are they worth the wait? Trust me, this gonna be crazy.
How about the heavy stuff?
The child wasn't his, and he still had to pay child support.
It's a very heated topic.
How was that right?
Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
I just have so many questions I want to ask you.
I just like to kiss a woman's ass. Is there something wrong with that?
Damn.
He told me he had a vasectomy. I'm pregnant.
Betrayal has been committed.
Hit you with the bad pipes routine.
How does he maintain his humposity?
He likes it when it pinches my neck.
Why can't you open up, brother?
I'm a karate man. Karate man rules on the inside. They don't show their weaknesses.
Yeah.
How do you write women so well?
Zoe Williams,
Reason and accountability.
the voice of reason. Yeah. Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, back in the building on a Friday. You already know what time it is. Tough topics. Real topics. Shit. This relationship business is difficult, to say the least. I mean, it might be easier the more knowledge you have. So we're trying to provide that knowledge. There's a lot of people just hooking up on as my homeboy Antonio Moore says, emotions and fantasies and projections and just a gang of heartfelt shit going on. So we're going to deal with it. But before I get into today's topic, you already know I got things to promote. I need you guys to get to my website, IamZoeWilliams.com, and pre-order your copy of The Holographic Relationship, a deeper look at the connection between consciousness, intimacy, and God. A very powerful book. The follow-up to The Relationship Dismount, How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship. Critically acclaimed work. Very powerful book. Also, from June 9th until June 11th, I will be at Joshua Tree with one of your favorites, Veronica Conway. We're going to be doing some kind of relationship retreat. It's going to be all spiritual and meditation-y. Yeah, I created a word. Meditation-y, yogic. It's going to be a lot of omen out in the desert. And I have a workshop out there. So it's going to be dope. Me, Veronica Conway, Professor Griff. It's called soulofthedesert.us. All right? I want everybody to check that out. soulofthedesert.us. Please check it out so you guys can, peep game on that. Buy a ticket. It's a whole bunch of people coming out from all over California, all over the West Coast. They got buses. They got all types of shit happening. So it's going to be like a Woodstock weird kind of event. But I'm there. I'm there. We're going to do this little relationship get down. We're going to see what it's about. soulofthedesert.us. What else do I have to promote? The Relationship Dismount, How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship. Of course, Frank will put up all of these websites for you so you can see. There's only 160 copies of The Relationship Dismount remaining. If you want a copy, you order it today. I'll mail it out tomorrow. IamZoeWilliams.com. I got t-shirts. I got all types of shit on my website. So please, 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 please continue to support and rock and roll with your brother. Also, don't forget the GoFundMe page. Frank pulled up the GoFundMe page. www.gofundme.com/Zoe Williams. This is how we pay Frank's expensive ass. He cost us quite a bit. So, I mean, if you really like the quality of the shows, the information that is provided here, please, please, please. GoFundMe.com/Zoe Williams. Now that that's out of the way, you already know what we got to do. Today's going to be a heavy, heavy, heavy topic. Jeez Louise. I'm sorry to report Dr. Boyce Watkins will not be here today because we had a scheduling snafu. He thought he was supposed to be here at 11 o'clock. And you all know I don't have an 11 o'clock show on Friday. It's my fault. Public apologies to the good brother, Dr. Boyce Watkins. I sent the wrong information to the sister. Please forgive me. But also, I'm going to do his podcast as well. So, we're going to get that thing going too. So, good shit. Listen, you already know this is a caller participation show. Caller driven. You want to participate? You want to get down with the get down? You got to call me. The number to dial is 323-230-4610. That's 323-230-4610. Now, you already know, so many people are going to be disappointed. So many sisters are going to be disappointed because every time we have this conversation and we're trying to look for objectivity in the conversation, we get banged for banging on women. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to provide clarity and context to a very, very complex topic. Today's topic, Jesus H. Horatio Christ. LLC, limited liability couples. Oh, fuck. Are you in an LLC, a limited liability couple? The business of blacktrimony, not matrimony. Blacktrimony. A deeper look at the business of marriage and family building in the black community. As is commonplace, I got questions. True or false? If the public policies were successfully eliminated, and I'm talking about the racial disparities here, in home ownership rates, blacks and the Latinos would become as likely as white household or homeowners to own their own home. Now, if this is true, why don't they just do that? Why don't they just take all of the racial disparities out of it? Who is the they we talking about? I'm just saying. Public policies. Who writes those public policies that be like, fuck niggas? Or the hell with people of color? I don't know. True or false? Are you more consistent with your 10% tithes to the church than you are with saving 10% of your yearly earnings? Why is it so difficult to save money, but so easy to give money to the church and them? Hallelujah. Why is the African American divorce rate at 70%? And what can we do to fix it? Shit. Is it all money? Is it all a money issue? Is that why our divorce rate is so high? I don't know.
I don't think so.
We've got questions. What do you know about your love interests' financial habits? Is it important to know what their financial habits are? If so, why? Who they come from? Who your people? That who your people is a real motherfucking question. Who your people? True or false? Making more money than your husband is problematic, sister, no matter what race. But in the black family, God, it really doesn't seem to work if a sister is making more money than a brother. True or false? The number to dial is 323-230-4610. We want to hear from you, 323-230-4610. True or false? Money seems to always, it's always a highly charged area in intimate relationships, mainly because it usually involves a power struggle. Ah, shit. All right, I'm going to stop asking questions because I got so many. I want to introduce my crew today. We got young, quiet Smurf.
Stop calling me quiet. I just got an attitude problem.
She has an attitude problem, and she's quiet. She's very attitudinal. Joelle Comedy in the building, DMV.
No, just Marilyn.
Oh, God.
Just
See what I mean? Attitude.
Because DMV is like we don't say that.
Is Maryland a part of it?
It is.
And
but it's
okay, we're done.
No, because it's not just Maryland. It's my county. Because Maryland includes Baltimore. We don't even talk to Baltimore. Like they're doing
I guess that's a good thing to do
Yeah.
in light of what's going on with the black community. Okay, cool. All right. Right next to her is the homie Sarah. Oh my God, Sarah, tell them who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wesley, and I work for an independent news magazine. I host a live show every week, and you can check that out on truthdig.com.
On who?
Truthdig.com, like
I thought
digging
it was
for
like-
truth.
Okay, cool. 'Cause
Truth
I
dig,
thought you
digging for
said something else, like truth dig.
Oh, no.
What kind of porn mag is this? Okay, cool. All right, and next to her, tell them who you are, because I always get your name wrong.
Right. It's just because I'm changing names. Bear with me. I'm Tiff Talk TV, Tiffany Ram. That's TIFFTALK TV. Basically, TV host, actor, motivational speaker, life coach extraordinaire.
And Pop Locker. Cool.
Ooh.
And on the far end of the table, the homeboy, I love to have him in. He came at the last moment because Dr. Boyce Watkins and we had that snafu, and I take full responsibility for it. My homeboy. Tell him who you are. Just tell him who you are, what you do, what you about.
Tony O'Moore, Tone Talks. I was nominated for Emmy last year for doing a documentary, Freeway Crack in the System, talking about Los Angeles, the crack epidemic, and Rick Ross. I'm an attorney here in Los Angeles, and I write about wealth. On Monday, I'm going to be interviewing Thomas Shapiro, the leading economist in the racial wealth gap. Look for that on my channel, Tone Talks. Just was tweeting with him right now, so I'm looking forward to having this discussion today.
Wow.
Yes.
So you already see what the topic is. LLC, limited liability couples. Fuck. Why is this relationship issue so problematic? Just on the relating part. But then when we start talking about the economy and the money side of it, how far are we behind, Tone?
It's not even about behind. I just think that so many of us framed an identity post hip hop, post the 90s, out of the Cosby Show and Jay-Z and Beyonce, that we have no idea the reality of like the black social condition. I start off, and everybody likes to say that this is sad, but you got to have a baseline. Middle black family in this country is worth $1,700 of three.
Wow.
You take out the family card. So you try to build a family with $1,700 and wanting to go to Magic Mountain.
You got an Uber to Magic Mountain?
You can't pay for that. You got $1,700 of worth.
Shit. Right. I guess you got to take does the Greyhound go to Magic Mountain? Okay, cool. So when you say that right now in this discussion, these are young women right here. What are their prospects? What is the outlook for them?
Well, I did a video on this. Everybody can check it out about the 70% divorce rate and a couple of other topics. I just think we got to be honest about the structural realities of our backgrounds and start having that conversation when we meet each other. We have the discussion about religion. Let's have the discussion about wealth and stop blaming each other for poverty that happened way before we got here. And then the other answer that Boyce would probably give is about how you would build wealth from here. That's not really my lane.
Right. Mm-hmm. So this is a recent divorcee right here. Let's just throw her out here. Speak on it.
Speak it in the world, yes, because it is not final yet. So speak that into the world, yes. I just filed that final judgment on Tuesday. So one of the points was that not to don't join yourself with someone else's debt unless you are actually married. I think that's something that's happening a lot because you need a co-signer for things like student loans and cars and even credit cards sometimes to start building your credit sometimes. And thankfully, because I knew better not to do that, even being married, to keep as much separate as possible because we didn't have children and we didn't have property yet. It actually saved me as in this divorce process. Part of the issue was his financial infidelity. So hiding a large amount of credit card debt, large, like 5 figures of credit card debt, So thankfully, because I wasn't signed, I wasn't an actual authorized person on those cards or a co-signer on those cards, I'm not financially responsible for any of that because I had the knowledge to make sure I was not yoked to that financial responsibility.
That's crazy. You talk about class a lot. How does one choose someone of a certain class, and how do you vet that out?
Well, I think right now where we're at is like Black America's really just flat. So when I say that, I mean, we don't have classes. We just think we do. So
I like that. I like that. Go there.
So there's 14 million Black homes. To get in the top 5% of these Black homes, all you got to have is 350 hard. 350 hard. And so like when you look at it on a chart, and I've shown this a couple times, Black America really just lies flat at the zero and then tears up later. Now, of those homes that are above the 5%, they all boomers. Young Black families are really just living on credit and hope. And so like my thing is like class is a discussion that maybe you should put to the side. And we hear this in a lot of relationships, and I talked about this as well. And this isn't targeting Black women, this is just a discussion. Put your list to the side and start really looking at whether somebody's a good person.
Fuck that. You fucking with the list now.
No.
You listen, there's sisters in here with lists.
No.
This one has a list like Santa.
I used to. I've converted to the character one because the list didn't work. We had this conversation already. The list did not work.
She got the Santa list for real.
Yeah, the list did not work.
What was on the list?
I mean, everything that's typically on a Black woman's list. Like, you need to be equal or better than me, so you need to have a degree or seeking it, a job, your own place, a car, no kids. Like, that's the Black woman's list. Love Jesus, go to church.
So, Antonio, I don't understand how sisters could be so educated and so well employed, but not understand the system, the way it's set up, and how the system views her dude.
Right.
To even have that kind of expectation.
Well, it was never created to explain that, though.
Right.
I think when we look at a post-Cosby era, what we started to see is advantages given to Black women and advantages taken away from Black men. I use incarceration as the baseline. One of the highest incarceration, and those people that have listened to Zoe before have heard this, highest incarceration rates ever was during apartheid, and that was 830 per 100,000. Today, Black men are incarcerated at a rate of almost 10,000 per 100,000. So you're talking about 10% of young Black men.
Now speak about the rest of the world.
So I mean, you have about altogether maybe about 750,000 African American men incarcerated, and that's more than like 9 countries that represent 2 billion people. So like, long story short, what I'm saying is like, I mean, I allude to this. I mean, everybody's gonna have to get active in their own happiness. That means you might have to pay for a date. That means you might have to seek out who you.
Wait. When you say you might have to pay for a date, who the fuck you talking about?
I'm saying if you 35, an African American female, and you got that money.
Look, she said no. This one.
I know it sounds good, but you can be at home alone. I'm just saying, like everybody has to seek out their happiness.
That's not true.
Wow. That's not true? Why?
Because, like, I've been in situations, first of all, when I say all this no, I'm coming from a place where I did what you did and I ended up on my ass and out of bread because niggas take advantage of me. So that's why I'm saying, like, it's a level to it. Like, maybe I should have put more standards because I was so open with me saying, like, you know what? I'm not like that. Anybody that knows me knows I don't take nothing from nobody. But when somebody tries to offer me something, I'd be like, no, even a guy. So the moment they be like, oh, she's, like, cool. Then they be like, all right. She cool with going paying half. Now I'm paying for dinners. Like, wait, we was going 50-50. Now it's just 100.
Now, mind you, she's 26.
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever.
But what I want you to do,
Young
because
fire.
no, this is why I want her to speak her truth on it, because I want you to contrast her experience, her reality with the data.
Yeah, I understand her position. What I'm speaking to isn't so much about being taken advantage of. I'm just saying that you're going to have to really look at it as equality is out here. So, like, with our men, if you look in the Rust Belt, look, if you look at Milwaukee, Chicago, if you look at the major cities in the Rust Belt, African-American men are incarcerated at 45%. That's just no jobs. That's called social collapse. Yeah. Now, what I'm saying is that you got a choice of either you go to a date with your homegirls, whether you go to a date with yourself, or whether you actively look at the marketplace and say, how can I make that man... How can I find a man that matches me, and what do I have to do to make that happen? I'm not saying to pay for all the dates. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you see somebody that you like and he's a little down on his luck, but he went to college and everything else, maybe you can just put your hand out there. I'm not saying it's not going to get slapped down, though.
But watch this. This system has conditioned women to believe love and happiness is not enough. We've been taught by economists to seek equality. So it's unfortunate, but sisters have to come to this stark reality. If 40% of your men, the men you say you love, right, are unemployed, it's unrealistic expectation to think.
That's not even counting the incarcerated.
Then wait, I'm gonna go through all the numbers. 40%, right, unemployed. You said that represents social collapse. 50% incarceration.
10.
Right? 10%. 10,000 out of every 100,000.
Yeah.
Right? But they still make up 50% of the motherfuckers in jail.
And
Black men.
And another 10% on probation.
And another 10% on probation. We're just doing the numbers. 50% high school dropout rate. National high school dropout rate. So when you start looking at when Public Enemy came with their logo, there was a dude in the crosshairs. Who was the dude? It was the black man. So if the system is attacking the black man while supporting you, how then can you create your expectations from that system for him?
And I would also add in what we're not dealing with is the looming reality of inheritance and legacy.
Speak on that.
So, like, you know, men are traditionally measured by wealth and women are measured by beauty. The difference is that you get beauty naturally through life. Like you're born, you get older, you get your breasts, you get everything else. For men, though, you get it through inheritance largely. And
Right.
like black men aren't inheriting things. So it's very interesting because our lives, especially like younger African Americans under the age of 35, post-feminism, we mimicked white realities without white wealth. And it left black men on the outside because they don't have the tool. It used to be that we worked and you guys didn't, so that kind of made it still kind of makes sense. But now when everybody works, it really makes black men not have the tool to actively engage and exchange the same way that we used to be able to.
I think that I can agree with that. And with the
Sarah,
with the lack
Wesley
Sarah,
on the microphone.
with
Go ahead.
the
Sarah.
lack of wealth. But in 2017 in the United States of America, there is not a lack of opportunity. And so I think when it comes to people, because I'm 27, she's 26, so with our age, at least what I look for is someone who has a financial intelligence. Like, do you spend less than what you make? Because wealth really is that ratio between how much you spend and how much you make. And so if someone is financially intelligent enough to stay on that path and to become educated and use the resources that they have, whether it's the internet, whether it's seeking help, whether it's getting information from the people that you know, friends, or finding a mentor, I feel like you can do that because you're right. We're not even just starting at a place. We were set back so many hundreds of years, not only in our mentality, but also the access to capital. But at least in this day and age, I do believe that there's a shift in consciousness. We have the resources to do our own research and to make a difference in the kind of wealth that we can acquire in the future.
This is the only thing I say to that is right now the studies just show that 18 to I think 34, one in three are staying at home with their parents. So you can easily seem like you can go on a date if you're staying at home with moms. Right. So I think that when you looked at Louisiana and Mississippi, it went up to 50%, and that's not 1 in 3 went up to half, and that's where a lot of our black people are. So my point is just to say, I think that's the lie they sold to this generation, is that there's this ample opportunity, but there's a reason that your friends drive Uber, not yours. I'm not meaning that, but I'm saying there's a reason that Uber exists is because people can't get a regular job. Do you really want to drive hitchhikers around? No.
Wow.
Right.
And there are people driving Uber with high level degrees.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep this. The disparity in the black person who comes from school with a degree and the white person who comes from school with the same degree. There's a disparity in the returns, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Speak to that disparity.
And so, like, we come back. Like I said, if everybody out there, pick up Black Wealth, White Wealth, and then also Thomas Shapiro, the leading guy in this, white guy. And he did a new book called Toxic Inequality. I'm gonna ask him the hard question, which is, can we close the racial wealth gap if white people don't want to give up whiteness?
White people ain't finna give up that shit.
And so like you fundamentally deal with this reality that black people believe they have agency if they say they have agency, when actually, like, when you understand, this is what we should be teaching each other and teaching. White people have 90% of the wealth in this country.
Please just break it down so they can understand.
We have 2.6% of the wealth.
Who the fuck is we?
African Americans.
So that's Puffy, that's Oprah, that's Sean P. Diddy, that's Sean Combs,
that's Byron.
That's Byron Allen, that's everybody.
Yeah, I interviewed,
all the balls.
Like I said, I interviewed Byron Allen, the billionaire that sued AT&T. Great interview. He calls it economic genocide. The bigger part is that of that 2.6%, like 2% is in boomer hands, like older blacks.
Right. So the baby boomers.
Yeah, and it's in their houses. It's not liquid. But if you look at black people, our dreams mimic a reality like that never happened or that doesn't exist. We just think if we say it out loud and put it on a vision board, it's gonna happen. But we're living largely a developing nation kind of reality in America, and we don't know it because our white friends, they'll be friends with us. They'll own like a big old building, but they won't tell us how they got it. They won't tell us how their family is tied into it. So coming back to this structure, what ends up happening, I think, in our relationships is that we think that man is going to be your reparations. And he's not your reparations, as Yvette Carnell put it. He's not going to fix the reality of what your family didn't leave for both of you guys. You guys both come from, and I'm not saying this from the new immigrants. I don't have nothing to say about them right now. I'm talking about descendants of slavery right now. Both your families had a lot of issues probably if you start cutting back in the background. Y'all need to sit down at a table and have that conversation as y'all meet. Just like you need to have the one about religion, just like you need to have the one about debt. But debt isn't just money. It's also legacy.
So give me, because I always thought wealth was the shit a family has of value, right? So that's home, property, equipment, whether it's, if you own a farm, all the farming equipment, the animals, all that shit add up to wealth, right?
Well, there's a flaw in how they kind of do it. They've been playing games with us. So before the 90s, they didn't tell us nothing but income. And what that led to is a lot of us judge ourselves based on income. My homegirl doing good, she make 80 or she make 90. But like the reality is she not sound. And because she's in so much debt from student loan. And I'm not blaming her right now what my point is just to say, one of the things that they've done more recently is to count depreciating assets. So like they'll count the family car and the couch. See, like the middle white family's worth 110, the middle black family's worth 6 when you count the family car and the couch, everything. Well, when you take out depreciating assets, black people go down to 1,700, but white people still stay at like 108 because they inherited the couch and the family car.
And this is liquid.
And no, this is hard. Right
this
now.
Is
middle,
hard.
The middle. And so like my thing coming back to it is just to say, one of the interesting twists though is when you look at homes, because in many of the southern areas, those shouldn't be counted neither, because they depreciating too. Them houses in Atlanta, they did an article in the Washington Post and they talked about it. Like a lot of people was buying their house for 115 in like 90s, and now it's like worth 97. Is that even an asset?
Right.
So it seems hopeless in a lot of ways. Like when I hear you break down the numbers and then I look at the sisters' faces in here, it's kind of like, because there's this phenomenon that's out there. The sister is gaining and surpassing her man in terms of, being the breadwinner. What does that do to the dynamic of our relationships in our community? Do men take a supporting role? Do they fall back? How do men process that? Does that create more conflict in the relationship, more power struggles? I mean, moving forward, how do we frame that? How do we?
Well, I wore my Superman hat because people like Charlemagne the God say make up a character and call it black privilege.
Say more about that. What do you mean? Charlemagne the God just dropped a new book called Black Privilege. And of course, Antonio Moore did a piece on it, wrote a piece on it. And I haven't read Black Privilege yet, but I'm going to buy it for sure. I'm going to support the brother regardless. But I want to know your perspective.
So for those people that are a bit confused, I read part of the book in the video I did. So it's not like I read the book. So like, I'm not reading the rest of the book though. I don't believe in magic. And so like, in so many ways, people keep coming up with a lot of ideas about things based on magic. I talk to billionaires, to economists, and then I come up with a concept. Yeah. What's happening right now for us is that we saw a lot of people that are high school educated make a lot of money. I represented a guy named Skee-Lo. He did the song I Wish. It was a platinum song. I went and got him his royalties. But I'm saying that that's just one time. Right. Let that go. I'm not going to tell that to other young black people. We got to find sound ways for young black people. Where in LA in 1983, 84, 80% of the garbage men were black. What happened to those jobs? What
you mean like people? Rock, Eleanor?
Yeah. And you can buy a house with that job.
Joey.
Right.
But you know what? That's not a glamorous occupation, and there are a lot of sisters that'll turn that motherfucker down today.
I'm down for a garbage man. You got benefits. I'm just saying.
Stop playing.
You got a pension. No, I'm at a different place than I'm going to own that because I've experienced that. But it's for real. Like, I'm not lying. Like, bring it on, garbage man. You can hit my DM right now. I promise. But
look at Tony's face.
He's like, I talked to an Uber driver right now. No,
Antonio's face was what?
No, but for me, she mentioned stuff like education and stuff like that. I think the largest misconception we have sold to the black community right now is that academic education is equal to financial literacy, and it is not. A lot of people are out here even getting MBAs and getting higher degrees and still know nothing about their actual financial literacy and what it takes to build wealth. And that's why I love going to Dr. Boyce's seminars, because he really breaks it down how just as a black community, we genuinely have probably about 5% access to what white communities have to financial literacy. Just because we have access to an accounting book does not mean we have access to the generational wealth secrets that they have. I was just talking to an African friend of mine, and he said the same thing. He's like, they're not going to tell you the secrets. You have to go out and get them yourself, and I'm going to learn them to teach to my son, because that's how white people did it. It's generational wealth secrets that they pass down. So that's the number one misconception I think we've all had, that a college degree is equivalent to financial literacy, which it's not.
Wow. Are successful black women low-key white supremacists?
Some of them are.
I have to ask the question. I think so. I have to ask the question because when we talk economy, you can't. The elephant in the room about economy is racism. That's why I have to ask that question. And if you're in support of a system that is predatory against your man, right? I mean, I'm just saying that's why I asked the question. It could be passive white supremacists. Passive. I don't know how the system is working. Maybe they don't know how the system is working. But if you created, just like you say, the fantasy of you should be doing this, you should be doing that. First off, niggas is getting killed over Arizona and Skittles as kids. They've done a report that young black males, most white people think are 4 to 6 years older than they actually are. So they'll see a fucking 10-year-old and think he's 16. They'll see a 16-year-old and think he's 24. So the question is, you can't, this is why I say a lot of sisters are operating in a space of cognitive dissonance.
Yes, absolutely.
And I apply it, or I liken it to the new draft pick, right? This kid who was broke as fuck, and now he's in the NFL or he's in the NBA, and overnight he's a millionaire and doesn't know money, and doesn't know how to manage it, doesn't know how to deal with it, and typically tricks off a lot of it before he gets an understanding of, oh, okay, wait a minute. This shit ain't gonna keep coming forever. I need to figure out how to, plant seeds with this money and build enterprise. So it takes him a minute to figure that out. And I'm saying sisters are Renaissance women today. So what they're gonna have to do is also recontextualize their belief about what their men should be. And then understand, what is the system doing to my man that it isn't doing to me?
Right.
And I think that they even need to acknowledge what the system is doing to themselves.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think that they're white supremacists. I just think we aren't taught enough about the real data. So like Sandy Darity is another professor out of Duke. I interviewed him already. And he's the leading intergenerational economist. That's a study of legacy. Black guy, cool and a fan. And so like essentially what he did is a study that came out earlier this year. I covered it on your web. The typical black woman with a college degree is worth negative $11,000.
But not in her mind.
Right.
Now hold up. What's a trip is that the typical black woman without a college degree is worth $0. So she might do hair and burn her hands out, or dry the bus and burn her eyes out, but she worth $0. She naked. She just straight even. So like what you fundamentally find is the difference between them is income. And I think that one of the tricks has been to trick us with income rather than wealth. Because when you look at wealth, with all of our races basically struggling. I mean, especially like young, really everybody, but especially like young people. Because even the old ones got millennials in their house.
Right.
They want cable and all this nice stuff, Twinkies. When we was young, you used to have to eat that powder out your hand. What was it?
Remember that powder?
Remember Kool-Aid with sugar? Remember syrup sandwiches?
Yes.
You didn't get all the nice stuff when you had to stay home as a millennial. You at home as a millennial telling your mama you want all the channels. Man, come on.
So, how does a 27-year-old, a 26-year-old, and a 29-year-old like really sit down and have a conversation with a brother who might not be where they are financially or educationally, but has talent, has a gift, and has a drive? He's just not as, together as they might be. What does that conversation look like for them? I want to hear from the ladies, and then I want to hear from Antonio. So starting with Tiff.
Oh, I think because I've lived through like the financial infidelity and I even did premarital counseling, and we supposedly did the little worksheets and disclosed each other's debt. And I say supposedly because, again, that was the problem. He didn't really disclose all the debt. And even he didn't disclose that his parents had filed for bankruptcy twice. Go ahead and do background checks, folks, because I will for the future. But for me, it's just, I really do live my life transparency. So I'll come out and tell you that I have, 5 digits. I have 5-figure student loans. But I'll tell you my plan for it and what I'm doing about it and how it's not going to be, it's not going to be crippling for me and why. And, but now I don't have any other personal debt, so like I really focus on those student loans because I don't believe in paying interest to no man, so like it gets to a biblical place, like, oh, no man interest. So I really do have those conversations in as transparent and non-judgmental way as possible because, like not everybody can afford $80,000 in student loans. That's very intimidating unless you say, this is my plan, this is how I pay for it. I had this much in scholarships and whatever. So I have those conversations up top. It might even be in the first 2-3 dates because I'm like, if we can't talk about finances now, how am I supposed to trust you later? Like, I don't care about if I want to go on a vacation and you're my dude and you don't have it, I will pay for it. I've been there. I've done that. I did it for my ex after we broke up. Like, oh, you didn't have the money. You always wanted to take that trip. I'll send you on it. So to be in a comfortable place to talk about finances is just as important as how many kids you want to have, religion, all of that, because it is absolutely the number one reason for divorce because people aren't being honest.
Sarah?
Wow. I commend you for that. I will say I actually have never had a financial conversation with someone that I've dated. And my longest relationship was in college, which was about 4 years. And he played football and he had the potential to go to the NFL. Well, he did go to the NFL actually. And we never had that conversation because I didn't really see a long-term future with this person. So as college went on, so it ended after college, and then after that, I was in another relationship, but that wasn't as long. So I never felt the need to have that conversation because I didn't feel like those people would be long-term in my life. That's my answer.
All right. Joelle?
I'm always like nervous about the money conversation because there's always this stigma, that women just want you for your money. So it's kind of like, I'll stay off that topic because I don't ever want to be perceived in that way. And I don't even like bring it up as far as like, gifts or anything like that of that nature because it's just not important to me. Wow. But taking care of yourself and being responsible is what I look for and what I can try to tell. Now, in my last situation, he was someone that was living beyond his means. He made a lot of money, but he didn't know how to budget right and he didn't spend his money right. And then he ended up in, some financial situations and looked to me because I had my stuff together. Like, oh, so then the financial, conversation come up. How's your credit score? I'm like, why you want to know? Like, don't use me. And then that's when I'm gonna
need to get this Suzuki sidekick.
And I'm like,
I need a cosigner.
No, I already have I have $80,000 in student loans already myself. So I'm like, you're not about to add to my debt, and then it's on me to pay it off because it's in my name. So I pumped the brakes on that really quick. But that was the first time I was like, you know what? Finances are very, very important, and this is the last time I'm gonna put myself in a hole for someone, or almost put myself in a hole for someone because they don't have their stuff together and I do.
Wow.
That's not fair.
Antonio?
I guess I started a little bit more big picture. I think that a lot of people need to have a conversation with themselves. And that means you got to look at your parents and you got to look at your grandparents. I mean, a lot of black people don't even know where their grandparents grew up.
That is true.
I mean,
where your grandparents live? I don't know.
And so, I mean, that's just the legacy of like poverty. So what you got is like us having a conversation about his connection to money, but like not how he don't have money or why he don't have money. And so like it's funny because like even here in this conversation, like you as African American women get to share your blemishes, and like you know, you sitting across from a dude, tell him you got $80,000 in debt. I don't know if he gonna leave just because of that. But like if he tell you the same thing, it's kind of like it's your time to judge him. Right. And I'm saying like in a lot of ways, like what black people have to get to is putting on. And I'm not. It's a balancing act. I'm not saying that you don't have the right to make some critiques of where you want your life to go. You do have all the right to dream, wish, and create whatever goal you have. But I'm saying in a lot of ways, the legacy of slavery is about to get very real. I heard you mention Boyce Watkins' financial literacy classes. I commend you for going. I don't really believe in financial literacy as the answer, though. I think right now, wealth is... There's a book called Capital in the 21st Century. I've shared it with Zoe.
That's a great book. I got it.
You went out and got it?
It's right here. On my Kindle.
Okay.
I told you I had this book, man.
Okay. Nonetheless, it's showing that wealth...
I don't fuck around when you come to the books now.
Okay.
Shit.
It's showing... It's a book by a French economist.
Yeah.
And what it's showing is that wealth is calcifying in a way that we haven't seen ever in America. And what that's doing is locking out not just black people, but it's locking out like the bottom part of America. Let me tell you another piece of data, just so you guys kind of get the lay of the land. Because a lot of us just talk about money, but we don't know about money. I see it. I believe you. You got to show the people.
No,
go and show them.
I want to show them so they can see.
Why they got to know though?
So they can go get it.
Look at it.
So
like
you,
they can go get
so
it
you out here
themselves.
flossing? So good for flossing.
There it is, my nigga. Go get your book, pimp.
Nonetheless, when we look at it, the bottom 50% of America controls only 1% of the wealth. 1%. The top share. The top like 10% of white families control 65% of the wealth.
Wow.
And like what we got, that's 8 million white homes though, because they got way more people. You got to understand this.
Right.
They have 190 million people and 82 million homes. 8 million of their homes are worth $1.4 million or more. There's a reason why I'm laying this out. I know it's a little data heavy. My point is to say that the top part of white America has almost all the money in the country. But like we as black people particularly, we deal with each other as though we got a piece of that too. And so like when you see Lil Jorge and he got a bad wife with him, she ain't looking at money. She looking at, can he get on the roof and like tar the roof up? She looking at, we come from the developing nation and like what are his skills as being a husband or a father? We've been here so long that we actually think that we're living a first world life, when actually the parts of your life when you laid it out are just as unstable as a developing country.
Right.
God damn. Shit.
Right.
Love look a whole lot different now. Netflix and chill takes on a whole different meaning. Shit.
Yeah, some people do that because they ain't got no money.
We ain't going out. We going in.
No, and I'm not even talking about sex right now. I'm just saying like some people companion that way.
Right.
Because and it's funny because we have a striver class that isn't wealthy. And they really believe.
Define striver.
A striver, and I'm not saying that's wrong to go to college, but they'll work themselves to death. We just seen that there was a sad story that came out about an Uber engineer, black dude, married, killed himself in the car because he was working at Uber as an Uber engineer for 5 months, and they was pressuring him, and he just couldn't deal with it no more. So he shot himself in the head. Wife, 2 kids.
Wow.
Because like only 1% of Silicon Valley is like black, and probably that's all Africans. There ain't no black African Americans down there. So you in this frat boy culture, and you just they poking and prodding at you. Show me the chicken dances and all that. So like, long story short, what I believe we need to do, coming back to it, is we need to have conversations with each other about who we are, and that means you got to know who you are. Have you done Ancestry.com? Some people against it. I get it. You don't want no data on you because you know that government gonna come get you, whatever it is. But I did it. You know, I did it. I learned a little more about myself. You need to know who your grandparents are and who their parents are if you can find it. These things matter.
I also want to, if maybe open up the panel a little bit, to talk about entrepreneurship, because, with these statistics, it seems like, and some of the things that I've read, it seems like, yes, this is definitely a Black issue because we've always been at the bottom of the barrel, but increasingly more and more, it's becoming a national issue. Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we see Trump in the White House, because you found that so many people across the nation were hurting. Just like this Uber driver, there's so many stories, white, Black, Latino, so many different races who are struggling because there is that top 1%. So if we're really going to talk about change and getting wealth in the Black community, how do we fight against this imperialist, capitalist system that is oppressing us? Because it's always been there. I mean, if you look back in slavery, in slavery, the Black people were producing all of the goods with the cotton and the corn and all of the crops that we were harvesting. Now, fast forward to 2017, we still have that same mass of people producing goods for a very low amount of money. That's basically slavery, whether it's the prison industrial complex or it's with the immigrants community that are working their asses off, working day and night, and then paying Social Security but not getting the benefits of them. So essentially, they're slaves as well.
But see, this is the only critique I have about that, is that it minimalizes like what we are. Our claim in this country, and we haven't really realized it. Ta-Nehisi Coates did a great book like 2 years ago, and what he showed inside of the book, it wasn't his source, is that the slaves, the bodies of the slaves, was worth more than all the railroads, all the land, all the corn, all the cotton. Your family's bodies was currency, and I'm talking about a lot of currency. And I think that what ended up happening over this last 30 years is that when we have our doors closed conversations, we talk about them, but they don't talk about us, these allies. So like right now, I'm having a conversation about us as Black people and like what we should be getting back from the system. Like Georgetown, did you guys hear about Georgetown came out with the thing where if you can prove that your family,
you can get free education.
You can get free education. I'm not saying that that's the answer, education per se, or making it free, but I'm saying in some ways, I think we need to really look at us. So like coming back to that conversation that's at this table between you and your mate, it needs to be about you and your mate. And like, I think that's hard for us because we socialize to take a Dr. King approach and look at everybody.
So once you have you and your mate and you're dating someone who has the potential, who has the desire for more, is that the conversation when you start talking about building something entrepreneurial, an empire, so that you don't have to remain under this system of getting paid a certain amount so that your wealth is limited and then you have expenses? I mean, the cost of living is going up while wages are going down. So how do you get out of that?
And what I'm saying to you is that you could talk about flying all day, but first you gotta learn to walk. And I think for us, and I'm not meaning this, what we've been socialized into, because a lot of us grew up in the hip hop era, is Black people have like potential to be anything. And where we're at right now is that to start a business, a real business, not a business, like most of these Black businesses, one person walking around with something in their bag. Well, to start a business in this country, it takes $30,000.
Yeah.
If the middle Black family is worth $1,700, what we're dealing with is social collapse. But during social collapse, you gotta learn how to survive first. And some of that is mental state. It took something for this young man that worked at Uber to kill himself. Wow. That's because he went into this place thinking that this place was gonna define him. Right. He gotta walk into this place with a purpose. Like what Black people used to be is they would work at like Fences the movie, the garbage job, but that ain't gonna define me. Black people love to work at Amazon or Google or somewhere else and tell other Black people they work there.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I come back to it and I say,
I work at Apple.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm better than you, nigga.
Yeah. Right. And so I come back to it and I say, I believe that young Black people got to start really connecting on a more, and that's why church I think is sometimes helpful as well. I'm not, I go to church. I don't go to church every week, but I believe that gives you some discipline and some connection on some other level than a capitalist level where we gonna both be Cookie and what's the dude name?
Lucius.
Cookie and Lucius one day.
Yeah, he looked at me like I knew. I don't know.
Right. No, you be watching that shit.
I don't watch none of that.
I call you later night. You be watching Cookie.
No, I don't.
So back to one of her questions
cookies.
In regards to what do you do?
Well, so wait a minute. Hold on. Let me, because we haven't taken a station break. We just took off. And we've been flying since. Like, for people who just tuned in, because the girls got their points across, we want to this is what we talking about. Tonight's topic, LLC, limited liability couples. The business of blacktrimony, not matrimony, blacktrimony. A deeper look at the business of marriage and family building in the black community. It's tough. 70% of, what is that stat? The African American divorce rate is at 70%. How come it doesn't work? That's like a failed business, That's like relationship bankruptcy. Because marriage is a business. So are we just not good at doing business with each other in that context? Fuck, that's a tough thing to deal with. If you want to participate in tonight's conversation, please call us at 323-230-4610. That's 323-230-4610. We've got a lot of intelligent people in the building right now chiming in on the discussion. Very, very powerful stuff. The number to dial, 323-230-4610. True or false? The Department of Agriculture says the estimated cost of raising a child from birth through age 17 is $233,610 or as much as almost $14,000 annually.
Time Magazine said $1 million.
Right? Time Magazine, if you want to throw in college, that's $1 million. Now, shit, that's the average for a middle income couple with 2 children. Now,
to make a factory worker.
Fuck. Right. To make a So you have to keep this in context. You take away the car. How much is the median black family worth again?
The middle family is worth. That's what I'm saying. The point is, like, we don't really understand. See, like, because we sitting here and none of us see stable like marriages. We don't understand that when you marry in this country, this first world richest
country. Speaking to the mic, big bro.
This is first world richest country. What we don't understand is that a married person that has 2 kids, 2 people, 2 kids, and they want their kids to go to UCLA, you're supposed to be at like 550, 600 in worth.
Easy.
Do you understand? Like Sandy Darity did a report on the color of wealth here in Los Angeles. It's one of the first reports ever done by city. And what you found is that the middle white family in LA is worth 300 hard, 100 liquid. That's not even counting the ones that go to UCLA. You know what the middle black family in LA is worth? Worth 3,200 liquid.
Oh gosh.
That's counting the car.
You don't want to talk about somebody who go to Pepperdine or LMU. And we don't want to talk about those
We don't
people.
Understand because we giggle with white people, but we don't talk to them.
Ooh, okay. My homeboy said I'm out. He left. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to chime in on tonight's conversation, please call us 323-230-4610. Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from? Speak on it.
Oh, this is Z from Dallas.
What up, Dallas? Big D in the building. Speak to us. Are you listening to tonight's conversation? Do you have something to add?
Yes, I do. I want to speak on what Tom was speaking about debt and how we really have no money. I came from a family. I'm driving, by the way, so I'm sorry. But I came from a family that left me with everything that is considered. I'm a millennial, by the way. I'm 26. I'm in debt so deep that no matter how much income I have, I'm still underwater. So they left us property. They left us, they were college educated. They thought that leaving us property would help us out, but the property is really just more debt. Right now, we're paying on taxes in multiple states on debt on property that we can't do anything with. And all of my siblings are college educated. One of my siblings played for BB King for over 20 years. So we have somewhat of some type of income and what people would be considered to be some type of success level. But we are so hurting. I have siblings that are doctors. I'm currently in school to get my engineering and my doctorate in computer science. So, like, all of us are somewhat doing something, but that's not helping the situation. So what I feel like when I date and when I look at stuff, I have to look at not necessarily your income, but your debt. Because I have so much debt, I can't take on someone else. And that's just the honest matter when I'm in a relationship and looking for my future mate.
Wow. That shit was heavy.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, my only issue is that might lead you to be alone, sweetheart.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like young blacks are like a debtor class now, and it's nobody. Let me say this: you're what you just described. You in the top best of black people right now.
Right.
The best of the best.
And so let me just say this: wealth. Funny enough, we always think about wealth as just the money. Wealth is the networks to get that stuff cleaned up. It's being able to go down to the county assessor and then the county assessor is your auntie,
right?
And get that fixed up,
right?
See, like we don't have those relationships because they locked us out of it for so long,
right?
Wow.
Well, see, those relationships exist. Like we were in the Boy and Balls, and we have family members that are active in the community in different stages of it, and it doesn't help when everybody is in debt. That's my point. At the end of the day, the economy has changed so drastically. Like the house that my people purchased before they went in bankruptcy because they were entrepreneurs. They had multiple businesses, and they lost almost everything in the early 2000s. So, the house they had is now well over what they had. They could have kept it and made well over $1 million, but all of that doesn't matter because the debt is so much, and you're playing catch up. Even when you build something, if you don't have a net worth or a group or a community to back you up, because at the end of the day, you can have these affluent blacks, but it doesn't matter because they still in debt. They still showing and faking it. Like I can't tell my family members that you don't have money. I can't. It's so many of my family members that feel like because they live in a quote unquote black suburb and everybody has some type of income that they have wealth. I cannot tell my family members that we have to come together. So that's the main problem to me because my family, if we were to be able to help each other out financially and dumb down our expenses, we'll be able to do so much more. But because that mindset is there that we have wealth, and that's not going to change because now the millennials have gone up and they're all materialistic, even if they're poor. So we have to change our mindset about
you don't say
that we want to.
Wait, go ahead.
You don't have to say if.
No, I'm saying because I'm poor and I try to live well above my means because of what I experienced growing up, seeing how quick money can be lost when you don't have that in your pocket. And I know you say I might be alone because I'm looking at that, but like for instance, I don't necessarily look at people who all went to school today. My last partner was a military vet. He was in security. He made a decent income and was able to assist with debt. That's my point because he had no debt, nothing he was really sitting on that was keeping him from helping or assisting. So when I deal with who I'm going to marry or be with in the future, I think about what am I bringing to the table versus them because, like I said, I have property. If I had somebody to come along and have the mindset to do, because I have undergrad in business development, I know how to do certain things, but I don't have the finances. So if I had somebody with less debt, freer money, something could happen with that, and it could help everybody else in return. But I don't have that, and it's hard to find a partner with that. And I would rather look for less debt and a decent income than more debt and overwhelming income.
Oh, wow.
I don't think she's alone, though, but I think
the
problem with that is she's looking for an investor.
Thank you, sweet. Hold on 1 second. Great call. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. If you want to bring your city into the building, please call us at 323-230-4610. Tiffany, what were you saying?
Well, I was saying I don't. A lot of people are doing what she's doing, which is you're basically shopping your partner. You're looking for an investor, someone who has less debt than you and more liquid asset than you. And in the black community, we just got the numbers. That's not a whole lot of us or any. So you've now really eliminated yourself from the dating pool. And she basically articulated exactly what is wrong with black women dating in society right now.
You guys are relationship brokers now.
Really,
this ain't no real.
Really, for me,
this ain't no real connectivity going on. This
for
is
me, that's
business.
not what I'm looking for. Like I really like if my standard was you have to have equal or less debt than me, and have more liquid asset. Like again, I have a master's degree. I have $80,000 in debt. Like. Again, that's not a lot of brothers out there. So I obviously am going to have a different standard of who I'm looking for to date, which after this experience, the list has been out the door for a long time. It is really character because I wrote a post a long time ago. I said the greatest untapped resource is a black man when he has motivation and access to resources. Well, if you have support and motivation and someone can just get you in that door with some resources and access, a black man is the strongest asset in our community.
But Tiffany, you're bringing up a great point. But you're now going to have to re-educate younger sisters. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there are more sisters out there, and I haven't done the Pew research. I'm not quoting them. But there are more sisters out there who would say, hey, what's that? Hey. You got to turn that music off, bro. Wait, what's going on over here? Okay, cool. So, yeah, there are more sisters out there who would say, at the end of the day, character is not going to feed me. Love is not going to pay the bills.
Yeah, but what if black men started off saying, you need to have your daddy. I need to know that you have a daddy.
But that's my point.
So like what we have, what we've created is this superstructure where everybody is asking black men to be white men. And they're not really honest about it.
But see, you disagree with me earlier when I said, is the black woman a closet white supremacist?
See, I don't think that's the same thing though. What I'm saying, I don't think that they actively know, because what was socialized into us post Cosby is that a man provides all these things.
There we go.
Regardless of his race. And that just wasn't true like before the 50s. Like when you watch Fences, it's crazy to watch Fences. We talked about it before.
Right.
Denzel was talking about like how black men used to just leave in the middle of the night. They called them Rolling Stones. And so like this idea that black men used to be these great fathers and they was always these good husbands. These are people that came from slaves. And like the idea of possession wasn't always there consistently. Long story short, my thing is just to say, I believe that we as a group kind of developed in a mutated like shadow of like white
people.
In
a weird way. Yeah.
And so like what we're at now is like people are trying to adjust for it by tweaking the boundaries. We're not the Hatfields and the McCoys, meaning the white people were the Hatfields. No, we were slaves. And so like where we're at now is that we got to look at what parts of that is still in my family and still in me that comes from that, and how can I adjust so that I can have a better life. So many of us want to send our kids to white private schools. So many of us want to be in a white business. So many of us really just want to be white.
Right.
Wow.
Well, and I was going to say back to like the education and having like the conversations definitely start in the relationship in the beginning between two people. There's definitely community conversations that need to happen. But number one is the idea of black wealth and black people and accessing wealth. The issue is they really truly believe that we can operate in this system. The system was never created for us. So the sooner we realize like we really need to construct our own system and use our own community and each other, starting within our own relationships and family, the easier the progress will be made. So again, why do we consistently try to operate in a white wealth system?
Well, I mean, it's nice to live in America because the pipes is good. I mean, other than Flint, I'm sorry. But
because the pipes is good other than Flint.
I'm just saying, like, until you travel somewhere else and really think, go somewhere and actually just try to build your house and then like start building irrigation and then start. We live in a first world country and it's comfortable. You ever go to, when I was in South Africa, you got to buy your internet like in packets and then they send it to your phone.
Yes.
We don't have to do that here.
Right.
So like, the problem right now is that black people are really parasitic to white wealth. And so like so when you look at land, it's even worse than overall wealth. White people control of the rural land. They got 98% of the land. We have 1%. And so like what we create is this identity that we can independently like kind of like just break off. Like this is South Africa or this is I don't know, like it's a developing country. What black people gonna really have to do is figure out how can I survive and create a peaceful life for myself inside of this craziness, because more is coming with tax comes. Trump is president right now,
man.
You know, and I think he's gonna really like affect black life.
But what about Jewish communities or Korean communities where you see that these communities are doing really well, and it seems as though, I don't know all the secrets behind it, but it seems as though they take wealth from this white supremacist community, this white supremacist pool of wealth, and then funnel it back into their own communities. So would something like that work? I mean, I'm still exploring, you know, how this all works and how I can best be, you know, an asset for my community. But like, it seems like some of the communities that are doing that are taking it from the white communities and then funneling it back into theirs.
Are the white communities more apt to do business with them than they are with us?
And this is the answer to that, is that we're not an ethnicity, we're a race. There's only two races, black and white. We were created as the underclass to white, like privilege. And so like these other ethnicities that have been interjected, it's all during our lifetime. Before Brown v. Board of Education, they didn't have nothing but colored and white. They didn't have all these 5 races and all this. The other part is even just as important. Let me use the Chinese as an example. You can look up and see a lot of Chinese people doing well in America and say, why can't we be like the Chinese? Well, you got to understand that only, like, of all the immigrants that come from China, 50% are college educated. They come from a certain class of China. So, like, you're comparing a group that came from slavery and the whole group, not you, but I'm saying to a succinct best part of a country. Go to China and you're gonna see a bunch of people living. I was in Beijing, and when I was walking
below
down,
the level,
I was walking down the street in Beijing. Me and my boy Laren, and the lady clapped at her kid. I'm talking about a toddler that was like 3, and he went and grabbed my boy's leg and wouldn't let go and didn't have no bottoms on. And so I'm just saying, like we gotta understand that we've been placed here. We gotta stop personalizing things, and we gotta start understanding each other as people, as black people, and I think we lost a lot of that with all of this talk about, you know, striving and dreams and millions of dollars.
So listen, let me get some callers in here real quick. The phone lines are lit up.
Oh wow.
Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from? Speak on it.
All right. Yep, hello.
Yeah. What's up? Speak on it, bro.
Hey, what's up? It's Jack from Honolulu.
Jack from Honolulu. What's happening, bro? What you got for this one?
No, it's catchy. Fashion show as usual. I didn't hear nobody say anything about it, but I do want to just kind of throw this out there. There's a such thing as not everyone's guilty of it, but you know, we're doing self-sabotage where we feel like, and this is single people or marriages, where we feel like we gotta outdo the other person. You know, like I don't care. You know, love is gonna get you through a marriage. Like sometimes people be like, I don't care. You know, I'll love you if we're broke, as long as we look better, as long as we don't look like we're broke. And I think that's a horrible mentality to operate under. But, you know, sometimes we operate under that. Like when we feel like we got to get new shoes or, you know, new something to look better than anybody else. I feel like we kind of put ourselves to that. And, you know, that's perpetuated by, you know, whatever is on TV or what have you.
Well, brother, I appreciate the call. Once again, a little bit of insight from the island of Hawaii. There we go. My man from Honolulu, Jack, thank you again for the call. We appreciate it. Every time you call in, the number to dial is 323-230-4610. If you want to bring your people in, just let us know. Veronica Conway just texted me. She's listening too.
That was real, though.
That was hella real.
Because, like, I did a piece called Cosby Show Dreams. And, like, it reminds me of the Cosby Show and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They show us that big old mansion and a judge. What you got to understand is that the Cosbys were not just not real. I'm not talking about whether they were positive role models right now. They were impossible. Like, that house.
How is that impossible?
I'm about to tell you.
My dad is an architect. My
well,
mom's
let's get it because I want to get back to the line.
That house that they was in was worth $800,000 in '83. And in '83, you didn't put down 5%. You put down 20%. That only people that live in that house would have been legacy and like entertainers. But they showed it to us, that brownstone, like we all could get it. That house is worth $8 million today. And my point is just say, not they weren't impossible as a family. I think they was impossible as a family. But we got to stop looking at the Cosby Show and just wanting to be a doctor and a lawyer so we can show other people that we a doctor and a lawyer and say, do you really want to be a doctor? You like blood? You like being around that?
Right.
The guy from Uber didn't even, you know, he knew Uber was the kind of business it was. Then you get in there and you like, these people mean. They run a business getting people to pick up hitchhikers. What you talking about?
Wow. Joelle, she doesn't agree. I can feel her energy.
I mean, I get it. I get where you're coming from. At the same time, I just feel like I hear everything you're saying, but it's like, well, what else can we do? You're like, forget dreams. I'm like, well, my dad is an architect, current architect. My mom went to school, full ride was engineer at George Washington University. Like, it wasn't cheap. And this was back when, in the 70s, late 70s. So it's like, and they provided for me. They were responsible with their finances. They didn't blow money crazy. Like, they didn't raise us that way. We didn't have like crazy expensive things either. We knew we were well off, but the way they were smart about their finances, it is possible. And I don't want anybody to feel like you can't have try to achieve like a good paying job just for like, it's not always like that. And it's like, I just feel like, and I'm from PG County. It's the richest black county in the United States for African Americans. So I feel like it is possible, and that's where I come from. Just don't have that mentality like everybody is on this whole wave and don't know what to do with their money, don't know where it come from. Because there's people out there.
I love it. I love the back and forth. Caller, we got a line. What's your name and where you calling from? What's your name?
It's the chef from Jersey.
What up, Jersey? Speak on it, man. What you got to say about tonight's topic?
Well, I want to touch on, the young lady saying that, if we have the Chinese and everybody else able to do business here, why can't the African American? And I think it's very simple. Everybody else is not a threat. African Americans threat the existence of Caucasians. So that's why they can do business. I have several business partners who are not African American, but they buy into the whole, Caucasian idea. This one guy that I deal with, he's a Chinese dude, but he voted for Trump and he knew what he stood for, and he knows both sides of the coin. Granted, everybody's about business, but in the same token, listen, he voted for the guy. And there's not much complaints I'm hearing in person about what the guy's been doing. Prior to that, it's let me ask the chef what he thinks about Trump. But now that the guy's in the office and he's doing all this craziness, let's not bring it up around him. So that's why I find it very, very interesting, because these guys, I think everybody's buying their time, right? We know China's about to take over the U.S. in the next 4 years. So at the end of the day, listen, let's vote for this guy. Let him set it up, because the United States owes everybody a whole boatload of money any goddamn way. So once that's done, the Chinese are going to take it anyway, and he's going to be set up for the win. That's the way I see this whole thing going down.
Hey, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much, man, for sharing your insights on the Voice of Reason, man. Just call in anytime. These topics are designed to ruffle some feathers. Number one, American. China does hold all of our debt, right? They're our number one debtor, correct?
Man, America got that army. I'm just gonna let you know that.
Period. We can owe you all type of money, but fuck what you talking about.
And I think one of the things for us is we love to get into global issues, but then when it comes to who your granddaddy though, right. You don't know that, and so I really do think that we got to know ourselves. I think that that's the thing you can't control in this environment right now with Google and everything else, is know yourself.
Gosh, this shit is crazy. Phone lines are bananas. Get in here. LLC, limited liability couples. We talking about money and the black family and legacy, and we broke 2.6% of all the wealth in America belongs to black people. Just 2.6%. Okay, cool. Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from? Speak on it. Hello? Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from? All right, Boost Mobile. Oh, there you go. Who is this?
Hustle from Miami, man.
Hustle from Miami. What's the dealio?
Man, I wanted to address a couple things I just heard. Because I feel like the brother brought up a good point about, slavery and whatnot. Except I don't feel like necessarily a lot of people want to be white. It's just they want access to the things white people were given in this country, which to me ain't so bad. Who doesn't want access to safe neighborhoods and great job opportunities and all these other things? The problem comes when what are you willing to do to get it? You see what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
because if it's cooning and if it's a whole another thing, then I feel like you're on the wrong side of the coin. But as the young lady was saying about the different cultures coming in, something you got to realize about these cultures. When they come in here, check their neighborhoods. They got their own language. They got their own form of doing things within the family. They come with something already. And they ain't just taking money from white people. They're taking money from everybody.
Wow.
The only difference is they work together to get it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And there's another difference that they can take their money and spend it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I just came from Tijuana. Tijuana, you can buy a house for $35,000. Full rip. That's it. You done. And I think for us, a lot of times we don't understand. We spending money against white people.
Wow.
So you hear, but then I'm not saying that we want to look white. I think back in the 50s, you would look in the mirror and want to look like a white man. Don't no black dude want to look like a white man.
But wait a minute. Here's the thing. You don't know what to look like. And what you desire to look like just so happens to be white. Can we just deal with that? They created the paradigm.
I don't know.
They created the success narrative is not written by people of color.
Post hip hop, I think that for black men particularly, we look in the mirror and I don't think that we necessarily want long gold hair. No. I do agree with this man on that sense, but what I think that you have to understand is that the construct of blackness in this country, since it was started, is to be an underclass.
Right.
And like we recreated there's a new article that came out, MIT professor. The title of it, I just want everybody to go Google it. America is regressing into a developing nation for most people.
Wow.
And so like that's not just black people, but it's almost our whole race. And like I think that what we do is we look back, because unlike your story, my parents had me at 16. And my parents are probably about your parents' age, if not younger. And so like, but my story is way more normal amongst black people. And it's not, and I'm not saying that your story is wrong, but I am saying that what's happening right now is that for black people as a whole, we're living through the best of us and then not doing the work for the rest of us. So we're living through Beyonce and Jay-Z or Ladera Heights, but we're not doing the work. Nah, I'll be at the barbershop and people be like, well, Ladera exists. That's only 20,000 people.
Right.
There's 1 million black people in LA though.
Right.
We keep talking about Ladera though.
Everybody got an uncle that live in Ladera and they think they balling because of him. Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from?
Sorry, calling from LA.
What up, man? Speak on it. Speak on it, pimp. What you got to say?
Shit, I'm over here watching the movie.
Jesus, I'm about to hang up on you. Goddamn.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, man. My whole thing is that I felt.
Hello?
Oh.
Okay, he not ready. Let's go. Let's move on to the next line. He's over here fucking around. Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from? Speak on it.
Hey, Zoe. Hey, family. This is Gregory from St. Louis.
All right.
How y'all doing?
We're doing good. Speak on it, bro.
Get it out.
My wife wanted me to call in, oddly enough, but this is what I have to say. Essentially, I think we spend too much time in what's supposed to be and what should be. We always look, well, we should be able to do like this and we should be able to do like that, but we're not focusing on what is. And we have to stop and focus on what is. And what is that we're destroyed people. We don't know who we are. And even like Antonio was talking about, as we go back, we were kings, we were this, we were that. I'm not saying that's irrelevant, but whoever we were is past. Right now, this present is going to be history. We're living in history right now. So we have to realize that and change the present, because we living in history, and this history is different than what it was 30 years ago, 50 years ago. When you're mid-40s or whatnot, but 30, 40 years from now, when you're 70, all these conversations are going to be history. And we're going to have to assess and evaluate what is now and not what was 30 years ago. And we have to make the changes now, today, as a people, man. And we got to look back at the past and say, okay, this was the mistakes we made, but reality has changed, man. I know you all know that.
Right.
We have to, we got to accept that the reality is, and that reality is harsh, it is ugly, but everybody's struggling by themselves right now. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. Hey.
I'm listening, bro. My bad.
I'm ready to move on, brother. You made a great point. You made it 3 times. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much for reaching out. Call us anytime. We're going to try to make the space, but there's so many callers calling in right now. So forgive me if I'm a little short with you, but you got to make your points very quickly. Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey,
Veronica Conway, the fucking unicorn. What up?
Okay, I'm good. I got some unicorn shit for you.
Okay, we listening.
I'm in between calls. I just got the phone with Australia, and I'm getting on another call. But listen, this whole thing about credit and debt, you guys can discharge your debt. Okay, so let's just start there. So if you understand the way credit and debt works in this country, and you understand the law, you can discharge it. I just discharged $400,000 worth of negative reporting on my credit profile. It was a leftover from, because when my ex-husband and I separated, he left me with all of the debt and the children. I just went in and discharged all the negative reporting, and I'm in the position to go out and build a couple $100,000 worth of personal credit and another couple $100,000 worth of business credit. And so when you begin to, and I'm going to have my kids also build $200,000 worth of personal credit and business credit, right? And so the thing is if we understand how this works, then we don't have to be such slaves and victims to this whole situation. I've introduced back in the day, Ron, who did Redress Right, the Redress Commission, they charged $50 for the class to learn how to discharge debt. It's kind of a pain in the ass because the calls go real long. It can be kind of a mind fuck. But people that have come, even out of your shows, though, that have gone into that program have discharged tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt and are now building out credit profiles to get $170,000. And by the way, if you build that, then you can discharge that too. I would do it now before Trump. You know, people kept saying, oh, there's no difference between Trump and Hillary. Bullshit. They're trying to go in and make it harder in the Trump administration for the average consumer to access and to shift around their credit stuff. But so I would say you got to do this now before he does any more damage to the laws. Elizabeth Warren, right? So you can do this. Go to redressright.com. It's $50. Sign up for that shit. Figure out how to discharge your debt, and then get out of this victim's posture that we've been in, that we don't have access. We just have to learn and connect with the people that have it and that are doing it. I know brothers that have discharged $2 million worth of negative debt reporting, including student loans, which allegedly are like herpes and you can't get rid of.
Well, there's a couple of people in here with herpes. These niggas.
Well, I know people that can get rid of herpes too. There's people that can do that at a distance too. But you can also get rid of student loans. So I think that once we understand the game, then we are more empowered to make more empowered decisions. Because I feel like we sit here and twiddle our thumbs going, we're powerless, and it's just not true. You can discharge all your debt. I just did it.
Wow.
How do I do it then?
VC, I appreciate the call. You know we love you to death. We love to hear your voice. A lot of people have been asking, where's Veronica? Where's the unicorn? Where's Veronica? She's busy.
I'm getting ready to go travel the world, baby.
Right. She's busy, goddammit. Listen, I appreciate you calling, love. Anytime, you know that. All right, she's gone. Thank you for hanging up. I wanted to hear her voice just one last second. Okay, cool. I know you got something to say.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you got something to say. Antonio Moore.
I just feel like, you know, when I come back to it, when I look at, I'm going to look at the last two callers. My man was from St. Louis. Ferguson had 3 warrants per person. 3 warrants. Their whole ticketing scheme was built on black people paying exorbitant amounts of tickets for nothing. For parking in your own driveway, all kind of like. What we're not dealing with is the reality of how that 90% of white wealth is predicated on our failure. Because what they did a really masterful job of. See, it used to be that you would walk down the street as a slave or a freed person and see other slaves. So you confronted like how they treat black people. What they moved it to is the prisons. So they put 10%, like a high rate is 1%. They got 10% of black men in prison. So what we started to do is recreate the narrative as though those people in Ferguson choose to be in Ferguson.
Right.
No.
Get your shit together, nigga.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of us, it's going to be an interesting next 4 to 5 years as it hits you, you know, and that's kind of what happened with the Uber dude.
Right.
He got up in there. He thought he was going to be the CEO, and they told him, nah.
No.
Right.
But before it hits us, like, what are the preventative methods? It's like about prevention. Like,
That's
how
what I
do
wanna hear.
what are the solutions? Because it just sounds like in this conversation, it sounds so hopeless. And
Yeah.
I'm not a hopeless person. And I'm like,
I'm saying that when I tell you the middle black family's worth $1,700 and you haven't never maybe heard that, you'll like everybody in this nation is living this life. One of the things about being in LA is very interesting is that there's certain, and you brought this up earlier about Maryland as well. There's like 5 places that got all the black people that got money because it came from real estate. Yeah. That's
Right.
like Maryland, San Francisco, LA, and New York.
Right.
But black people all through the South and all that, you got to go visit. What black people really should do is go take a driving tour through Alabama and Mississippi and all that. And
I
then
seen that.
I went down to, I was in Selma during the 50th.
During the 50s? Nigga, you a man.
The 50th.
Okay.
50th, fool.
This nigga's a vampire.
No, but I'm saying the drug addicts down there, they pop up out of trees. One dude popped out of a tree and gave us directions. And I'm just saying, long story short, we got to understand that you might live, if you grew up, say, in a certain area where the house is appreciated like they did in Ladera Heights, as an example, for black people, just know that that's an aberration. And you kind of lived in even though it's 20,000 families, it's nothing like that maybe it's Maryland, Ladera, San Francisco, New York, but all through the South, all through the Rust Belt, black people in Detroit, they can't buy their home out of this. They can't. And so, like, I come back to it, and I'm not talking about whether it's hopeless. I'm talking about understanding the board. Because if you don't understand the board, your relationships can't work because you can be lied to very easily.
Wow. That takes us back to the 70% divorce rate.
Right.
If in America, the number one indicator for wealth is marriage. The number one indicator for poverty is divorce. So then you couple that with the 70% divorce rate of African Americans. Now you're saying, damn, are we a poverty-making machine through marriage?
I saw a study recently that said marriage is for rich people only. Oof. And if you look at it, because marriage is really about combining two families.
Two wealths.
Two wealths coming together.
Yes.
And what you have is we're trying to mimic that with no wealth. So
black love, baby.
And I think that in a lot of ways, we're going to have to redefine like how we relate with each other inside of the reality of our situation.
Listen, I said this shit 5 years ago. I did a show with Claudia Jordan. And I said this shit 5 years ago. We did a show called Relationship Currencies. And I said there are some currencies that are of equal value to money and some that are worth more than money. Oh, hell nah. And I'm saying, listen, you really gonna have to develop some other currencies.
Yeah.
And in light of this kind of information, and I'm not one that's on the hopeless bang, right?
No, I'm not.
I kind of understand what the brother is saying. The brother is saying you better find some place to be happy.
Yeah.
That's really what he's saying. You better figure out how to be happy without all of the trappings.
Yep.
You better stop watching the Housewives of whoever, random regular motherfuckers. You gotta stop watching TV and who you've kind of elevated on this plateau as relationship goals and all that shit. You gotta find a way to be happy outside of Hollywood's paradigm of black relationships.
And you also, let me say this, on a date you gotta be willing to ask, who are you, and be open to the answer. If you coming in there talking about you don't want them to have debt to a person that come from slavery, it's a real road to hoe. Because most of them what we've created is a culture of black men feeling they need to lie. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying like not a lot of them are then gonna tell you the truth. So like if you create that environment and then he lies, what's your responsibility in that?
I feel like everybody just need to be smarter. Like I feel like everybody has the same opportunities as the next person. I don't care if you grew up in Mississippi or whatever. Like there's people that there was no cars at one point. Like it's all these excuses. Like it's important to just be knowledgeable and want to be knowledgeable, and that's all it is. At the end of the day, it's all these different No,
I think you're bringing up a great point here about drive.
Yeah, like just want
about
to be
ambition
better.
And drive and in sports. You see it. They break it down in sports. You get some players like Lamar Odom, externally motivated. Right. You got to pat him on the back. Good job. And that's what keeps a person going. Acknowledgement, external motivation. But then you have other people like Kobe, internally motivated. Typically, the internal motivated motherfuckers are the great ones. Mm-hmm. Kobe, Magic, Jordan. They're internally motivated. They're going to get up. They're going to mash regardless of whatever the fuck they're facing. But here's the problem with that. You got those two kinds of people who are dealing with the same circumstance and situation, and this is what produces the cream will always rise to the top. Because those external motivated persons, they're not going to always have somebody going, good job.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The system is not going to pat them on the back.
Of course not.
And then the way our society is set up, where there's animosity and acrimony between black men and black women, he got to find a sister that's going to be like, okay, let me big you up without thinking, I'm not your motherfucking mama. Get your, right. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, there's that dynamic as well. So, I mean, shit, it's a problem. Like, it's hard for you to, I get what you're saying. You got to be positive, but there are a lot of people, you hear people say it's a blessing to wake up every day.
Yeah.
Have you heard people say that? But that's not the motherfucker living under the freeway underpass.
And that's my point. Like,
you see what I'm saying?
My point to you as a young sister is that you gave us kind of your background, and I commend your parents for raising you. Seemed like they raised a good woman. but most black people don't have that. So
Right.
like, let me say this: your grounding of purpose. You gotta be around somebody who mama told them that they ain't shit.
I have. That's my.
But
point.
I'm saying that person is not. I'm saying that you gotta be. If you grew up in that,
or even you ain't shit like your dad. You're a failure like your dad.
And that's fine. My whole thing is like
A lot of kids can't come back from that.
No.
And this is where I'm just coming from as a standpoint, just because as black people we're already put in like at the bottom of the totem pole. We already know that. So it's kind of like I feel like everybody, and I'm not saying it's easy or it's gonna be a cakewalk, because it's not. Like even from my family, they didn't give me like a lot of shit, even though they could have, because they didn't want me to be spoiled. I was never spoiled. I was the only one. I'm probably the only one that never, out of my 3 siblings, I'm the only one that didn't even get a car. By the time they got to me, it was like, we can't afford nothing. You know what I mean? Like, so I had the short end of the stick. But
we got a wheel.
Right, pretty much. And so, like, I'm just saying, like, everybody, if you know you're at a disadvantage, that shouldn't discourage you. That should be even more of a reason to get yourself out of the hole.
Well,
I personally don't want to like let anything break me down, because I don't want to be a failure for my own self.
I love that. I love that about you.
But what I'm describing also is not just like, that's what I mean about the Hatfields and McCoys. This isn't just like disadvantage. What I'm describing when I say that black men are at 10,000 per 100,000, understand also that black women are at 300 per 100,000, which almost like is a normal rate for incarceration.
Wow.
Right.
That's because the whole system was designed, like all throughout West Virginia, they selling Vicodin in pharmaceutical companies little pharmaceutical shops, because Walmart won't sell it. But it's white women and white men running that. But if they catch them, they don't get 5 years in a felony. Mm-hmm. I'm saying to you that structurally, one of the things that kind of came out of this whole thing is to look at this from an individual level. And when you break it down to that level, you feel like you have agency and can change it. But when you step back and you look at Ferguson, where people had like 3 warrants per citizen, and you had these white judges that came down and just gave it out to like black people like tickets. You got to live there and not in Maryland or Ladera or somewhere else for a lifetime to really understand blackness. I think a lot of us haven't lived the black experience that's nationally experienced.
Right. Well, I was going to go back to like the general psychology of people. What you're talking about is an internal drive, and we talk about resiliency. And a lot of the time we look at people who maybe have been knocked down, who are pessimistic or whatever, and we overlook the fact that resiliency isn't like just this thing you have and either you're resilient or you're not. The person who's pessimistic has probably more than likely experienced exponentially more negativity than you to get to being pessimistic. It wasn't like they lost their resilience. It's like more people came against. So like the level of empathy to look at the national black man or woman and understand that systemically, regardless of how optimistic they are, I like to be optimistic. I'm a social worker. I believe everybody can change. But systemically, there's a lot of things that are meant to not help us succeed. So we as a community and individuals need to recognize we could maybe achieve anything, but what are the real, very realistic barriers? Because if we're just like, oh, we can achieve anything, but we're not going to talk about the very real systemic barriers, why won't we have communities? Why don't they want us to have homeownership? Because homeownership equals community. And if black people really regained community, we would be stronger than white people.
Community and wealth. Homeownership is wealth. That's wealth. We don't want no wealth. We want you to have money in your pocket for spending.
And part of it
but we don't want you to have any wealth.
Back into our
and
business.
so if the middle black family's worth $1,700, right? But when we go on a first date, I don't know to ask you, can your dad pay for the wedding?
Right.
It's like, when do you find out that matters for you? It's like the whole setup is designed to tell us that our legacy matters indirectly.
Wow.
But it's never really designed to tell you guys. So like what happens is, and I get that you've paid for stuff, and I commend you for that, for holding whoever you held down. But it wasn't required, like written on down, this is the rule of what you're supposed to be.
Right.
What's happened is that when we get to the marriage, though, and your dad isn't around, we say we're going to share that. And I know of several married men that don't hold that over their wife's head. Like that was your cost, and I split half of it with you. Like, I think that what we have to do as a group, I keep coming back to it, is be honest that our poverty isn't our fault, and we need to share in that reality of how we're going to overcome it and be happy together.
Wow. That's good shit. Caller, you're on the line. What's your name and where you're calling from? Welcome to the Voice of Reason.
This Todd, LA. I just wanted to say that, like you said earlier, the narrator, the narrator, the narrative of all of our problems it comes from our oppressors. So I just wanted to say, like, how do we as a people, especially, people coming from, lower, lower standards of housing and living and stuff like that, supposed to succeed when we didn't get that same financial literacy that perhaps other people who do live in middle class homes or other African Americans who do live and living better off than us. Because when it gets to a certain point, like me personally, I'm 28, and I make some cool money. I make $17 an hour, and with full benefits. But at the same time, it's nothing compared to what what you need to survive in LA.
No,
and,
it's not. Yeah. It's not enough.
But then it comes to it also comes to a certain time where it's like, you want to go back to school, but you're piled with so many bills and debt that like that's going to end up becoming a hindrance. It's going to end up becoming a hinder to you.
Right, a hindrance. I got you, brother. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
No, I got you.
Yeah, so it's like my basic, I was basically, saying like, how do we supposed to, come up from that, that aspect when, everything is put down against us.
Antonio, thank you. We'll give you your answer off the line. Go ahead.
Yeah, my thing is that I look at America pre-NAFTA and post-NAFTA. And I think that for a lot of us, I come back to it, we don't know that we live a developing nation kind of reality. Like, America presumes now for high-functioning people, and most of us black people, we really have dreams of high-functioning people starting a business, going to college. It presumes you're going to get some inheritance. That's just the truth of the country now. But we're not going to get any. But see, the other math of that is then to say, well, then how are other people doing it? They're not spending the money here. They make the money here, and they spend it in another place where it's cheaper. So, like, we're caught in the middle. And I think for a lot of us, we're driving ourselves crazy because we don't have enough exposure. So what do? What I say you need to do is figure out a life that makes sense for you and your mate. And that involves you having a hard conversation with them and maybe finding somebody that's very unique. Because I think that a lot of people over the next 3 to 5 years will be confronted with the reality of blackness, and it will awaken them.
And give us an example of the reality of blackness. We're going to move forward 3 years into the future. Time travel. Antonio?
You still at home, and you still got your name on your milk in your mama's refrigerator. And you still trying to
Don't touch this milk. This is mine.
And you still got the same car. Or you still in the same spot. For a long time, we was moving. We was just moving here, there, subprimes. I bought a house and this, and you're gonna see a lot more like stationary reality because not enough of the opportunity that you're describing earlier is trickling down. During the 60s, labor got a bigger share of the wealth like out of it than what we're seeing now. Now the top wealthy people are taking all the opportunity. That's why in 1 year, let me give this one last data. I gave it before. In 2016, the top 65 families were worth as much as the bottom 50% of the globe. By 2017, in 1 year, it only took 8 people. 8 people were worth more than the bottom 50% of the globe. You know what? 6 of them are American.
Wow.
And it's not changing. And I think for us, we don't understand ourselves in that context of an America that's consolidating wealth and also consolidating our legacy as.
So I want you to talk about
disenfranchised.
I want you to talk about how inheritance, like that wealth, grows faster than like savings, like what you have in the bank. And I want you to talk about that.
Well, I mean, on a simple level, like right now in the real estate market, if you got cash, you gain. But if you're trying to buy houses with like labor and you're trying to use one of them loans, 2% loans, you just too slow. Right. So if you're able to come in with cash in the real estate game right now, you can make a killing. Right. That's the people that you talk to and say, I'm doing so good. We don't have no cash. And like somebody would say, well, can't you go get some? That is part of the consequence of like being black is you can't go get some. And I think for like this 20 years, like what happened was we all knew people from a distance like Dre and Jay-Z. So we think that there's this market of black people who can go get access to even, and I no disrespect to Veronica Conway, I want to hear the terms of your $100,000 loans. I don't want to hear just about the credit line itself. I want to hear what kind of terms and paperwork they want. Because Trump didn't have to he done failed 3 times, this man as president. He went and bought the league that was supposed to compete with the NFL. That failed. He done went bankrupt on the buildings.
The XFL,
USL,
right?
FL.
USFL? USFL. I remember that.
But every time what happens is his people just give him cash. And so we don't really have that, but we learn it on the fly in the middle of a market that's trying to hide all the secrets. Google is great, and I'm not saying it doesn't give you some information, but it don't give you the secrets. Right. The secrets is behind another door.
Right. Now, the Capital book by Thomas Piketty, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He broke it down. I read it, halfway anyway. It's an 800-pager, right?
Yeah.
He broke down that inheritance grows at 4 to 5%.
Yeah.
Whereas savings or whatever else you got, it just grows slower. It just grows slower.
And labor.
What is it? 2 to 3%.
Yeah.
So just if you don't like for instance, my cousin works for this fucking billionaire white boy. He's just fucking off money because his shit is accruing still. He can live a life of I want the Lamborghini and I want this and let's fly to Norway to pick up this jacket I bought. He could live that life because his money is still accruing.
And black people, you know what? We don't have no exposure to real bread. Mm-hmm. So like when I went to buy my Beamer, they had the i8 in the lobby. That's the Ferrari looking Beamer.
Yeah.
He said they sold 7 this year, but he said normally 5 years ago they used to have 1 a year that just be in the lobby.
Right.
Rich people got so much money right now. Rich white people. And what's happening is that is people's dreams. I call them dream eaters. When Steve, they said that Bezos, he gained $20 billion. Those are little businesses. Some black girl that wanted a boutique. Nah, Amazon taking that. We taking that off the table. You're not selling directly to them. They're going to buy it through Amazon. What's happening right now is that the internet isn't just democratizing information.
Yeah.
It's allowing capital to access everything at once.
But peep this. My girl over here, quiet Smurf. I'm just playing. Jesus.
Whatever.
Joel Comedy. She's a sports buff. So look at LeVar Ball.
Uh-huh.
The top 3 shoe manufacturers.
Saw that today.
Right? Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike said, hell nah. Now, a lot of people will spin it. The media is going to spin it like, oh, well, he was talking too much and, he put a bad name on his kid and nobody wants to do business with him. But if you look at his plan deeper, you'll understand why they don't want to do business with him.
Yeah.
And in a way, they showed their fucking hand because they basically said, no. We tell you what your son or the player is worth, and then we give him money. LeVar Ball is like, no. I'm telling you what my son is worth, and I want you to partner with. This dude's trying to build wealth, and now you see all 3 major shoe brands come together and go, no.
We're not going to have that.
We're not going to have that. We're not going to let you in.
That's what happened with Byron. I mean, go check out my interview with Byron Allen. People say, why do you bring him up? Because he's one of the 4 billionaires, dude.
Right.
And so, he sued Charter for 20, Comcast for 10, and AT&T for 10 billion, not millions. He settled with AT&T. This is legitimate lawsuits based on slave laws of not doing contracts. What he was showing was that these people, he owns the court TV shows with the black people that come on KCAL. He owns the show, and then he don't sell it to them. He licenses it to them, KCAL, and he gets money on the ads. When he tried to go do deals, they said, we don't want to meet with you. We don't want to meet with you. People don't understand. We come from a legacy of slavery in this country, and these people still want positioning. They got classes, white people. Unlike us, they really got classes of people where it's like, this class don't deal with that class.
Big.
But that's shrinking also. And I do want to add just one more point because, well, it is, and that's one of the reasons. That's one of the things that Bernie Sanders. That's the platform that Bernie Sanders ran on. Is that this income gap wealth is increasing at such an exponential rate that it's out of control. And now with Trump in office, it's literally just going to spiral even more out of control. And so, honestly, when we have these conversations amongst Black folk, this is amazing, but we need to bring white people into the conversation. And that's one of the reasons why Fred Hampton was such a threat to the society, because he had a plan to bring people from all different races who were struggling with very similar issues. You go to middle America, and there are people who can't afford to put food on their table for their kids as well. Now, until we start having a conversation on a global scale about the Federal Reserve and about the way that the system is really run and the top few families that own all of the wealth that are controlling. And yes, Black people have had the worst end of the barrel because of where we started. We started way, way back, and we have a lot more catching up to do. So that's what makes our situation exasperated.
Well,
but
we can't catch up as adversaries. I do know that. We cannot continue to be adversaries if we plan on catching up.
I agree with that.
So I also say white privilege is this lady described it as like an invisible set of assets. Yeah. So like inside of the problem with your math is that they still get to look like the rich. So like meaning like if I'm an old white man, I can walk in somewhere and people got to figure out if I'm Steve Bezos. Right. You got to get them to get that up. And I just don't. I guess I don't see them aligning themselves with us because the whole system is designed for them to keep selling themselves out as well to these super capitalists. Wow. Because they get to be white.
This is why I always say we can't really blame the successful Black women as men, as brothers. Because I always say, well, shit, where's their alternative? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the system. Now, unless we go off and build a system within the system that competes with this system and is as lucrative as this system, it's kind of hard to just be on them. I mean, I would want sisters to stand up and do it a different way. But like I said, I think the Renaissance woman is living in a space of cognitive dissonance. Yeah. She has to demand something of the dude. But I just try to point out, like, look at the system you're asking for him to assimilate into. You've already taken the fucking bait. You've assimilated into it, and you're at a certain level. But you gotta recontextualize your expectations of him if you want to be with him. You got sisters making $100,000, $200,000 a year talking about, are you gonna get the tab? Right. Like you started off earlier. Is she in it for happiness or is she in it for
power or something else?
Because if you're in it for happiness, you might have to pick up the tab.
Here's the thing.
I mean, I'm just saying. Do y'all disagree?
Men are socialized to go seek their happiness in a way. Meaning, if I make 200 and you make 50, I got it.
But I get where you're coming from with that aspect. But
I mean, because wait, I'm gonna throw it back to you, babe. Look at the rappers. The rappers are doing exactly what we're talking about. They're competing in imagery. None of them niggas got that shit. They rented the Benz, they rented the Maybach, they rented all of that shit. They may have spent their whole advance on a chain because that's the imagery that gets them you.
That's the wrong woman.
Speak on it though.
That's the wrong woman, number one. But number two, when it comes back to the whole paying and everything like that, and like, oh, you got to make at least this. There's a difference. Like, I hate this. Like, I get it. Like the whole, the system is designed. We know that. So what you gonna do about it? Like, stop talking about that. Stop talking about it. Like, so for me as a Black woman, and I'm trying to be successful, I'm trying to get my shit together. I want you to have that same drive. Like, we have to wake the fuck up. Like, we cannot keep saying the system is designed. Okay, we get it. So what we're gonna do about it? We have to move on and figure out a way to get out of this system. Like,
okay, number one, we need y'all.
And that's what we're trying to. So
we got to form the Wonder Twins, Voltron. How do we do that?
And I just come back to that's the argument I've heard on my channel before is that we do know it. But I ask people after I tell them that the middle family's worth $1,700. Did you know it?
Most people don't know that. Right.
So
I'm gonna tell you right now, most people don't know that.
Yeah. I think that they think I think most people think they know they Black, but don't know they Black. Right. And like when I say that, I mean this in the purest sense of in this country, I think there's like 6 things that make you really experience Blackness. Being male, in its purest form, being a male, being incarcerated or a felon, being poor, being in the South. If you have all, and I'm just saying There's like 6 of them. If you have all 6, that's when you really get to.
One of them too.
That's when you get to get confronted. I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying that concentrated, like in a level where like the police don't let you just go away. Like in police when they
don't let me go away.
No, I'm saying just when you look at the Philando Castile stop.
Ooh, so hold on. So I'm directly related. Like I have a connection to Philando. Like I'm from Minneapolis. That's a direct correlation. He's right. Like he's not discrediting your blackness or your being a black woman, but to say that the concentrated experience of being black comes from a black man, like again, you're cute, girl. So to say that
don't mean shit when
yes,
I'm in the
it
South.
does. Absolutely,
I get disrespected, and
so
I have
he's
so many
not
racist
discrediting your
encounters.
blackness by saying a black man has a different experience in America.
And I'm also saying, and understand, I'm also saying, coming back to it, I don't have all the qualities, and Zoe don't either. We in LA. I ain't been pulled over in my Beamer ever. And I'm saying to you, like, we all, like, some of us are speaking for somebody in St. Louis that got 2 warrants for some BS driving through the county trying to get to work. And, like, you got to step back and understand that you might have privileges being in a blue state, being a woman that allows you not to have to experience what that person's going through. I fight for that person, though.
Right.
But I feel like that's not fair because I have got arrested in Maryland for bullshit, something I didn't do. Just because I was black. That's the same thing.
Tell us the story.
Basically, like, I was just out with friends at a party. It was on near a college campus and University of Maryland. They're known, those campus police are known for being racist. I talked to many lawyers in that area, and they said another black woman who was a lawyer said the same thing happened to me where there was racially profiling. I didn't, but I still got arrested because they did want to get the black men that I was with, but they couldn't. So they came for me because I was driving, but it didn't matter. If I was cute, it don't matter. I'm black. They still locked me up.
I got one question. How'd you get out?
Because it was because I was a first time offender.
And then did your parents make that call?
No, my parents.
They didn't know where you was at. Nothing.
My mom was going to vacation. My dad my dad and my mom are divorced. They're not together. I was at home for a weekend. I was in college at the time. I'm pleading with him like, yo, I'm just visiting for the weekend as my friends, like trying to play it out. But they was just mad because we were out and it was like a weed smell. They were like, well, whatever. And they didn't even give me no drug test or anything. I wasn't even smoking. It was my friends that were, but they just wanted to lock us up.
My nephew got sent to jail though for the same situation.
Okay,
and
but that was.
And what I'm saying, he was in the back seat. Same situation. They smell weed. He's in Arizona. Different. He's in the back seat. He doesn't smoke. They put all of the drug paraphernalia on him. He's serving 2 years. He still got another. He still has another 6 or 8 months. So whereas you didn't go to jail, he went to jail.
Right, but that's specific to police brutality in the law system. But what about the sexual objectification of women? What about women being violated and molested?
That's happening too.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Question.
Like, I wouldn't say that the black male experience is in any way more of a defined experience for a black person, because black women also have to deal with the stigma of the welfare mom or a single mom with 3 kids. Like, these things are as significantly important.
I think what he's saying is, as a woman, there's still more services that cater to you guys than there are that cater to black men.
That's not even what I'm dealing with. What I'm dealing with is I was given a list of 6 things that I don't have all 6, and I was about to concede to the man that does. Right. But what you see is that they're trying to jump on the parts that affect them. That's a whole different approach to looking at struggle.
Right.
And I'm saying I don't look at struggle and try to connect to how can I find my little niche to get mines out of it. I'm saying that I am an aberration. And I'm saying that as an aberration. Right. I study, I like literally, I'm talking to the guy on Monday.
You're an anomaly.
I'm talking to the guy on Monday that wrote Black Wealth, White Wealth. That is the first book on this whole topic. And I'm saying to you, like, I think for a lot of us, we form our whole identity based on what can I get out of the black struggle. How can I find out how it affects me? And like, I've been shot in LA in the wrong hood. And I'm saying for a lot of people, they've never been shot. They've never been shot at. But like, they want to find out how they can be more down with the whole identity of blackness instead of understanding. No, some people got to sell cigarillos outside of a store every night. So they just waiting to get shot. That's not me. They don't have to? You telling me the guy, Alton Sterling, wasn't out there because he almost had to do that?
Right. There are some people who are surviving on a level that a lot of us can't imagine.
Right.
Now that's real shit. Like, And the reality of it is, if you haven't experienced it, if you haven't seen it, it's almost impossible to conceptualize, to imagine.
Absolutely.
But there are some people out there living on levels that, this shit is crazy. And I've seen it.
Ferguson's courts, look, I'm an attorney.
Right.
Our courts are every day, all throughout the county. You can pay your ticket anywhere. You know how Ferguson ran their courts? At 8 o'clock at night at a house, and you had to stand outside in the cold.
What?
Yeah. They got video of it on the internet.
Oh, shit. Okay. God damn. Listen, the object of today's show is not to answer every question.
Right.
What it is designed to do is to spark the conversation. Because, first and foremost, marriage is business.
Yes.
Raising a family is business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a business enterprise. And if you go in there on some fantasy shit, if you go in there on some happily ever after type shit, and I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying it can't be just that.
Right.
You got to have a fucking blueprint of what you want to do. And you got to be open with your partner. Hey, this is how much I owe. This is how much debt I bring to the table. This is how much money I have. These are how many assets I have. And this is what I can help you with. What can you help me with? But it can't be a predatory kind of situation, because then now you got two mercenaries trying to come together. Mm-hmm. So it's a delicate fucking operation. And these kinds of conversations are must-have conversations, close to the beginning as you can possibly get.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And then once the truth comes out, you'll know what kind of footing you're on moving forward. There's no way we can answer every question that's plaguing our society in a 2-hour show.
Right.
There's no way to do it. But I think we did a good job framing up the conversation of what should be talked about. I think we did that. Do you guys agree or disagree with that?
Agree.
All right, excellent. So let me go around the table and get everybody's information, starting with my brother, Antonio Moore.
Antonio Moore, visit Tone Talks. Look for the discussion with Thomas Shapiro on Monday. Check out my discussion and my assessment of Charlemagne's
the
book.
God, yes.
The God, the whole name.
Charlemagne the God.
Black Privilege, and check that out. Again, black love is possible. You just got to have an understanding of each other.
Wow, good shit. And my girl, Joelle Comedy, she was talky today.
Man,
we love it.
My nerves.
Yes.
My handle on everything, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, is JoeyXSB. I kind of just wanted to bring it together, one thing, and just say we do need to come together as black people, man or female, and just work together pretty much. I'm not trying to discredit anybody, but we need to just be on the same page to get
Well, work with me, shit.
I am working with you, but you have to work.
Okay.
That's
cool.
all.
Oh, now she's saying I'm not working. Okay, cool. Didn't I just show you how to do all of this shit? Okay, Sarah, let's go.
What's up? This is Sarah Wesley. You can find me on all social media accounts under @SarahWest. With the exception of Twitter, it's Sarah_West. And I also host a live show every week on truthdig.com. So you can check that out Thursdays at 1 p.m.
All right. And then Tiff.
It's Tiff Talk TV. And yeah, that's the same thing on everything. Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. You can find me there. I answer everything. Basically, the best currency in all relationships is honesty. It's more powerful than money.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the Zoe Williams Voice of Reason show was crazy today. What is today, Friday?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, this week is over. We had a hot week of topics. Shit was fire. I want you guys to support everything I do. I am ZoeWilliams.com. I will check in with you Monday. Deuces.